Here we are live with Brian. Bro Builder is here and back to doing some interviews. Haven't done any interviews for a while and wanting to get back to doing some. And so going to try to do them maybe about every 2 weeks or so. Maybe more, maybe less, just kind of whenever we can. And so going to be talking today with Brian. Introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Brian. I go by Bro Builder right there on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. I do live streams. I do custom model making. I bake a lot of stuff, actually. It's kind of like ingrained in my being, but that's who I am.
There you are.
It's super short and sweet. If you want me to go into more depth, I can totally go into a bit more depth.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I figured we would.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Exactly. So yeah, Brian actually just wrapped up a live stream just before this, so I appreciate you kind of doubling up tonight.
Absolutely.
So he just wrapped up a live stream over on his channel. Just before we get into it, you want to talk a bit about just your live streaming schedule, what you're doing with those live streams?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I've been doing like a workbench live stream for 2 years now, and change. Anyways, it wasn't always super regular. I only do it once a week. And I take breaks when I do my competitions because I work on GBWC builds and I do like OMC and I work on Zax comps and stuff like that. When it gets down to crunch time, I often take a break. So please don't be offended if I'm not there for every stream. But my current schedule right now is Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock Eastern United States time. And on my Tuesday streams, I hang out with a group of like 4 to 5 guys. You'll see Chris Pabs in there, and Z, and Coolest Gunpla, and Julio Clip and Nubs will come through. Phil build stuff comes through in there, and we are working on right now. It is a 4 horseman theme build, which is we're taking these Seed Zaku warriors and then just customizing them like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So this is death. This is my death, and I've done a whole bunch of crazy stuff with this. So we do that kind of stuff on Tuesdays. And then on Thursdays, it ends up usually being more of like a generalized workbench hangout with my buddy Paul, Gunpla Paul, who's down in Florida. And I've known him for quite a long time. He's been like my co-host for this whole workbench thing. And we do a lot of like clean snapping and just like talking about stuff that's going on and just like super duper chill. Answer questions and just kind of like, show off some new kits, maybe talk about some books. Tonight we were talking about the Calamity books because I don't know if you guys know that the Calamity books are on sale from the publisher. I actually have them right here because we were talking about them. These ones.
There you go. Yeah.
From Design Studio Press. They're 25% off until the 1st. So if you guys want to go check that out, that's pretty cool. It's a wealth of knowledge. Over here. Zach over there. Yes, you know Luca's work, so you can probably vouch for the quality of the stuff. They're absolutely worth every penny. So
yeah, for sure, definitely crazy. And you've been working on that Calamity kit too.
Oh yeah, I put in a couple months earlier this year, working on a Calamity kit, or towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, working on the Breagle Sniper custom. So took it and I fancied up it a little bit. Not done yet, but
yeah, I was gonna ask you if it was finished because in case you guys watching live didn't know, we often see Brian's work in also the Gunpla critique videos. Brian's one of my Patreon supporters, and so he's also been in a bunch of critique videos, also in a few different contest videos. Brian's won or placed in a couple of different contests at least. So we've seen a bunch of Brian's work over the years. But yeah, last time in Gunpla critique, we were taking a look at your Calamity build, and you were saying it wasn't quite finished yet, but still not quite finished yet.
Yep. No, it's just still, it needs, honestly, I would love to put another couple of 100 decals on it. And then I need to put like, easily a 2 or 3 days of oil rendering on it before, and then obviously more top coats. And then I have to finish the base. So right now the base that is supposed to be under it is under the Deep Striker custom that I'm working on. So it's just kind of like hanging out. It's a walnut base that I made. So.
Okay, yeah. It's not the kit didn't come with a base, right? It's just
no. Yeah, I carved some rocks out of foam. Like I like to carve rocks. It's one of the things that I've really gotten into for dioramas. If you guys have seen stuff like the Flea back here, the diorama is all carved out of rock, or carved rock out of foam. It's just this really nice material. It's a high density. I just have little scraps of it right here. It's this high density green foam. You can, if you can see it, there's like no porosity to it. It's you can't. It floats. It's impermeable. You can't put water. It doesn't soak water. It doesn't soak solvent. It doesn't do anything. So you can paint right on it, and it doesn't like, when you paint some foam, it sucks the paint in. It takes a lot. Like you just coat a primer, sand it, good to go. So that stuff's pretty cool. It's called U150 15-pound core foam HD.
There you go.
There is actually a sample of it. So that stuff's pretty dope. So that's what I carve a lot of my bases and stuff out of. So yeah, I carved up a couple of rocks for the base on the Breagle, and then I just have like a nice wooden base for it to sit on. I didn't want to go too crazy with doing like a full, making trees or doing, any of that crazy stuff to try and work within the scale, because it's a pretty decent scale. I think it's a 1/35 scale model. So for its size, I think it's 17 inches tall standing, something like that, with the gun, in the upper position, the way that I have it positioned. So something like that. It's a very large model.
You'd have to make some pretty big trees, not like some little tiny things or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, that's fine. But I'm doing a lot of other things. So.
Yeah. Can't focus too much on just one project. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you have to focus on all the projects.
Yeah.
At least a little bit. That's how I end up doing it anyway.
Have you done a video on specifically on how you're cutting up the foam and everything? That makes
I have not.
video.
I haven't done many tutorial videos in a while. Sure. I started out, if you guys look at the beginning of my channel, when I started doing gunpla videos, I did a few tutorials where I talked about a couple of different simple things like seam lines and little things. But then I really kind of decided that my video production skills aren't quite good enough to make like a good video. I know that I could take the time and learn, and I really should be doing that now that I have all the spare time in my hands. But yeah, it's probably not a bad idea, because there are some aspects that I play around with that some people don't do. I'm doing a panel at the upcoming SCGMC Digital, so maybe I'll do some diorama rock carving on my tutorial. I mean, I have to have something to talk about.
Yeah.
So.
It seems like it's just something that I don't think that I've really seen much covered by anyone else, really.
Right.
So
I really like it a lot, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So I think I might be able to help some other people enjoy it as well. That's a pretty rad idea, Zach. Right on. Thanks.
Good idea.
Yeah.
It would be cool. I've never tried it either. I've seen it done years ago when I visited Sori Kim's workspace here in Korea, builder here, and filmed the interview, and then that interview never actually came out. Anyway,
it happens.
Yeah,
I
so
filmed an interview with you that I still have stored in my computer that never saw the light of day, aside from a transcription. Ugh.
Yeah, but yes, the lost interviews. But when I visited him, he was working on making using the same kind of, I can assume it's probably the same thing. It looks the same kind of foam that he was using for making actually glacier, though. He was making a diorama with the crashed 1/35 core fighter model, the hard graph model, crashed on like a glacier, and he was using that foam to make the ice. So it's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that as well.
Yeah, you can get some really cool forms out of it. It's fun. You can do like Superman style crystalline forms of like long form rock formations, or you can do like other crazy things. It just depends on how you approach it, I guess. I'm not going to go into it now. Watch my tutorials.
Yeah, save it for your tutorial.
Yeah,
you guys can look out for that in the future. If Brian doesn't make it soon, just keep bothering him about it.
Yeah, actually, that's the best way to get me to do something. My wife will attest to this.
There you go. Yeah. I know.
I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, we can all relate. I'm sure any of us can relate. But all right, so yeah, let's go back, getting to that, because I know doing that sort of thing is kind of your specialty. Because before you were making gunpla, you were making other different types of stuff before. So why don't you talk about a little bit what kind of stuff that you were making before you were making gunpla?
Depends on how far you want to go back.
Well,
so I've always been, exactly. I've always been a model maker and a builder of things. Like I always liked that. Like I got into Lego when I was 6 in 1985. I made my first model in 1986 when I was 7. So, and I spent a good 4 or 5 years kind of focusing on, when I was a kid at that age, focusing on making Revel model kits, cars, trucks, planes, and that kind of stuff. It was like a big passion for me, and as well as building with Lego and playing with Ninja Turtles, whatever the heck was around, doing all those things that kids do.
Mm.
And then just like studied art and stuff through school and all of that. Kind of like got away from model making for a while there because of the just the decline that happened. There was a Revel decline. If you guys want to talk to Z about it, I don't know if he's in the chat or not, but he knows a lot about that stuff. His dad worked for Revel. Anyhow, yeah. So like got into college and started focusing on doing 3D work, working in like leather, working in wood, working in plasters and metals, and branching out slightly more. And then like as I moved out here to the city, I got to work in this job as a metal worker where I got even more experience doing things like blacksmithing and then access to materials and learning more about material science and getting that kind of thing down. And I've always been a huge, big fan of like video games and everything. So I got into making props, and I thought that would be a kind of a fun thing to do. So I built props for myself, essentially. I had a little Etsy store. I still kind of do. It's shut down right now because I don't really have the ability to produce a lot of that stuff because of like limitations. I can't really go anywhere. I can't really get a lot of things. But yeah, so I made 1-to-1 scale Borderlands props, various different kinds. And then I got into molding and casting and learned a lot about plastic sciences and then what it takes to make a perfect copy of something big. And then I switched that, learned how to make a perfect copy of something that's really, really small, and got into small detail. There was like a rollover at my shop where I didn't have the same amount of workable space on my off time. Like I used to have access to a fairly large studio. It was like about 30 by 30 with a 16-foot ceiling. So like a ton of workspace. So it was easy to have a big rotocaster in there spinning giant molds. And like I could do crazy stuff with fiberglass and silicone and all this resin. It wasn't a big deal because it was all like contained within this like, industrial shop space. Ended up losing that. So I had to think smaller. And some of my friends were like, yo, have you tried building gunpla? And I was like, yeah, I grew up like Evangelion and Patlabor and Macross and Dibin Tank Police and Black Magic and Metropolis and all this stuff, super anime fan my whole life, Transformers, all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know. Buddy was like, one of my skater buddies was like, dude, come on, you gotta try it. I was like, okay, fine. All right, fine. I'll look into it. Looked into it. Picked up one. I was like, this one looks pretty cool. Master grade 00 7 sword. It's like, we'll try this out, see what this is like for a thing. And that was kind of pretty much it. I was like, this is pretty cool. Like I get it. Like it's nice to be able to put something together, refine it, but not have to think of the instructions for it. So like most of the stuff that I've had to make so far, it's been like you have to figure it out from the beginning to the end to get to that point where you paint it. One thing that's really nice about these model kits, like whether it's like a little Meng tank like this guy right here, or it's like, Bandai kit or whatever, you're building a robot. If you're getting to that point where you're going to end up painting it and finishing it, it's really nice to not have to think of everything that goes up to, and we'll get into that eventually. I'll talk about doing all those other things too, because I've done that as well now. Bit of a masochist. But yeah, so I made a bunch of like really cool Borderlands guns, like 1-to-1 size, like big cool things. And downsize it into the model making. And yeah, I mean, like the thing what really sold me. So like it's cool, the kits are cool, they're easy to put together, engineering is really fun and smart. The thing that got me was the Zaku contest.
Oh yeah,
that you held.
Yeah.
Right. Because that was before that, I was like only thinking Betty suits, right? Or like I got the Barbatos or whatever, the the Full Mechanics Barbatos or something like that. But I was really only looking at like the Gundam suits. And then I built that Zaku, and as soon as I put it together, I was like, it's like something weirdly clicked in my head. And I just really like the feel of it, the way that the thing went together. The engineering on the suit was good. Like I said, the engineering on all these kits are amazing, but it was something about the Xeon style that really clicked in my head. And that was when I think I got addicted to the Bandai end of the things. Like that's what like really pushed me over. Because before then I was probably like teetering. I was doing some like sculpting and doing stuff because I work in like clay. I do all sorts of crazy stuff. So I was like, am I just gonna like do creative sculpts? Like this is a rough cast of a creative sculpt I did for some this is a resin cast off of two guys from Dark Souls, if you're familiar of Solaire and the Onion Knight from Dark Souls. So this was all molded and out of a clay sculpt, and then I did a resin cast and then cleaned it up a little bit. So I was like, am I gonna make these like desk riders and like, you know, these guys have these two arms, they're over here, but I haven't done yet. Anyways, or am I gonna like, you know, do whatever? Because I have to create. I have this compulsive need to. If I'm not creating, I don't sleep for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. So like, that's why I work so hard on all this stuff. People probably don't get why I'm, because I like can't help, but work on stuff. But yeah, so then like, yeah, it's just like, there it is. And it's just like steamrolled. And there's just been such an awesome community here that I've been able to be a part of, you know, and like get to know cool people, like all the people here in New York where I first started to get to know people. And like, I, you know, kind of met you loosely a little bit online, Zach, and met Alex, and like got in with like, Alex is such a great guy. And like was in with his Discord with Paul and like all this cool stuff. So yeah, it's just been like really, really cool and like super beneficial. And I feel like I've been able to help a little bit too by bringing some of my knowledge from all this other stuff and help show a little bit, you know, try.
Yeah. That's why I think like working with some of the materials and stuff like that, you had all that experience before. That knowledge, I think, is specifically stuff related to that is what would be great to see tutorials related to
like
that.
Teaching.
I taught myself repose, like how to make how to do like armor and stuff like that out of brass. You know, I taught myself all the stuff about fiberglassing and like I said, about the molding and casting. I made a whole resin kit essentially for the full city, which is pretty rad. That works out. I have to make some more of them. I have only given a little bit of them out, but all the feedback that I've gotten have been pretty good. On the quality of the parts and the fit and everything. So that's kind of like a plus. Stress that stresses me out because I care about everything that I make and I don't want to give anything away that isn't like the best that it could be. So like so I've been reluctant to
that full city maybe I guess we'll go ahead since we brought it up. There was something else I wanted to ask you too here, but we'll get back to that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All over the place.
Okay, but do you have any pictures of that just for anyone who's that you could pull up just to show?
I could just pull the full city up, or just in the case.
For anyone who is unfamiliar, Brian built and then cast parts to make a 1/100 scale Gushan Rebake full city. Was that for a contest or what was that for? Is it something
I ended up putting that into GBWC because I sculpted it all off of Bandai and made all the molds myself and cast all the resin myself. It fit within the parameters. So that was in GBWC 2018. 2018? Yeah, because last year I won. So let me see. Where is the folder that has the finished photos? Because I have 1,000 folders here. I apologize. So this one? No,
so while you're pulling that up, then I'll just ask you real quick. Then the other thing I wanted to ask you is that you said you were a big fan of just other different kinds of anime, but when you picked up your first Gunpla kit and maybe didn't really know a whole lot about that, so had you seen much of different Gundam series when you first started building?
I haven't seen a single. Well, I take that back. I saw like some F91 and some 8th MS back in the day.
Oh, really?
I maybe caught like a 5 or 10 minutes of a G Gundam episode, or like maybe a Wing episode, like that was on cable, you know, whatever, like Tsunami or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like I didn't really like watch Gundam, and I honestly kind of like thought about it like, oh, like Gundam, like, oh, that's so mainstream, or like whatever, you know, really being really stupid about it, like not really understanding what I was missing out on. And then, you know, I caught F91 randomly through watching some stuff and was like, wait a fucking minute, I know this. Like, I really know this. Like, all these weird little connections. And then 8th MS team really kind of like also helped seal the deal. And now I own, you know, all of this Gundam IP. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you picked up the 007 swords, you'd never seen 00 or anything.
Nope.
You had
I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that I skimmed a review, we'll say, of the kit, and was like, huh, okay. Because another buddy of mine in Israel was looking to try and do something a little bit different. He also makes Borderlands props. Oh well, now I'm in the Kotobuki contest. And he was like, let's do something together, because this is my buddy Amir, and we used to like hang out and talk all the time about our Gundams. Here we go. Let's see, can I do?
It's definitely an interesting choice for your first build. I can see how like the box art is like pretty flashy. It's a cool box art when you pick it up, but it's got like a lot of stuff going on compared to like if you were gonna pick up like your first kit, you might have gone for something like, I don't know, a little bit more simple looking, maybe not quite such a complex one. But
no, it's incredibly complex. I didn't realize how insanely complex it was for a kid to pick for the first thing. Like I would not recommend it to anybody for their first, Gundam kit. It's cool. It's solid. He needs a stand to stand up because obviously it's got
so much stuff going on.
It's got like all of this stuff all over the place, and like so many swords. 7, obviously. So, all right. Let's see. Do I do
screen share at the bottom? You should see that.
Yeah, I have StreamYard, but I don't. Okay, cool. Don't worry. And I need to go
pull that up.
Here.
Then I can share it to the screen here.
Oh, here. Yeah, this is what I want. So. Oops. So yeah, I guess I can just go to here. Is this how we do this? I don't know. And then I can't see you. I can't tell.
Once you go to screen share, then
I have to tell it to share though, right?
You can select just the application window.
Oh fuck yes, thank you. Yeah. Sorry for the swearing, everyone.
It's okay.
Like that?
There you go. Now I can add it to the screen.
Okay.
There you are. And you can control that there. You can zoom in or whatever, so you can see that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this is basically the front shot of the full city. Almost everything that you're looking at here is resin. The guns on the two sides, those are actually the Bandai guns. The hands are Bandai hands, and like a couple of miscellaneous little parts on the inside are still Bandai, but the majority of it has been reworked and then recast in resin. I should be able to go to the next image. Yeah, here you go. Here's the back.
You used like the frame of the Barbatos or something. Then
I used actually the regular rebake. So I used the Gusian rebake, and then I remade. Yeah,
I forgot that existed.
Right. Yeah, there it is rotated. Here we go. This is the Me or My Son picture. Because you have the 144 and you've got the you've got the full city in the back there. Let me go back. Hang on a second here.
So how when you're upscaling everything, like how scientific did you get with it? Like were you measuring everything and like doing all that, or just kind of like going by eye?
Yeah, that I can, as I'm like digging in my computer here really quick.
It's okay.
Yeah, I have a whole folder full of that.
I can attest, at least from what I've seen, stuff that you've submitted for a critique video, that you're pretty good at taking work in progress photos. So
yeah, I think I took 800 or 900 photos for this build. But we're not going to show all of those, obviously.
Maybe here for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I mean, I love work in progress photos. It'd be cool, to go through everything. You can really get into really super detail about it. But
okay, let's go back to here and here and here. Okay.
In all your spare time, you need to put together a blog or something like that, or like put together a whole PDF like Josh did with all the progress photos.
Yeah, so essentially I would take like the leg itself and then I would draw it over 1-to-1 loosely. I mean, it's kind of rough. Obviously, it's not supposed to match perfectly, and then figure out within the shape where the separation part would be, right? So then I took those and I did it for everything. Like I needed to expand the chest, so I expanded the chest. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Hi, guys. Come on. Is this gonna work? There we go.
Yeah.
I can't control my window now. This sucks. Hang on a second.
It's okay. So the frame you're using the 100 scale frame, but you had to make adjustments to it.
Yeah, I had to make a ton of adjustments to it because it wasn't big enough. It's not even a 100 scale, to be honest with you. I felt like the frame that they gave to these kits was too small, like the full mechanics frames. So the chest looks really dumpy. The arms are short and stubby, and the legs are like long in weird ways. So what I did was I expanded. You can see here in this image, all the red is everything that I expanded. So I expanded the arms on the upper arm and the lower arm, and even on the legs too. So going so far as to expand the tip of the top of the lower leg, and then I expanded the chest as well. Yeah, exactly above the knee, and then I expanded the chest as well, and had to make new pistons and expanded the height as well as the width. And so what I'm getting into here is me laying out and figuring out like base templates for parts before going through and making. Let's see. There's like so many work in progress photos here.
Sorry, making like the
making the parts
to go
to
between.
fit together so that I can still use the existing frame parts. And this is going to take me back to the bigger spread of photos, I believe. Or not. Hang on. I'll stop sharing so you guys
to get that stuff between, like to fit the new like filler part between the frame parts. Did you also have to extend some pegs, or most of the stuff was kind of like just long enough that it was okay?
Absolutely have to extend the pegs. Here we go. This is where I wanted to get to. I tried to start making like a show and tell folder, and it was just like, gosh, what do I do here? Yeah,
there's a lot to go through, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's so very much. All right, so back to me. Hi, everybody just looking at me feverishly, looking at my computer. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, as you can see here, there I extended. I had to make an extension peg, so that I ended up needing to mold as well, and I'll show some molds later. But I ended up doubling up the width of that initial plate on there, and go ahead a couple of posts. There you go. That's the original. And then this is with expansion. So here I am like laying out to make the new pistons, expanded the column for the spine, and then the width of the sides. If I skip ahead a handful of skips, we will see. Oh, it's very slowly doing this. 1 second. It looks so nice when it's done. Here we go. Yeah, basically just it's all plow plate, it's all styrene rods, it's all made basically made from scratch. Here we go.
When you were recasting, did you recast all the new frame parts as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So like give someone. So like if you're saying the few that you've reproduced to sell or give to people, including like those parts as well. So whoever is building.
No, you have to. No, I take that back. No, I didn't do I didn't recast the duplicate Bandai frame parts. The way that you this is going to sound whack, but the way that you can get away with doing something like this and not having Bandai give you a cease and desist is that you have to make it so that the Bandai kit is required to build it, right? Which sounds kind of whack and stupid, but at the same time, it's a way for me to get around making something that isn't completely 100%. A knockoff in a way. So this is what it does. This is what it does to the chest. As you can see, it widens the frame right quite a bit, and it adds a little bit of height. I actually went back into it and made the frame even taller inside the column. Inside the spinal column. Let me see if I have a nice, tasty photo.
Yeah, a lot of those IBO Gundams have like a very narrow torso, eh?
Yeah, incredibly narrow. And then just, it's easy to use, but for modifying and customizing them, they're really beautiful to paint because they're just very well designed. But here we go. Come on now, Suki now.
For the couple that you've given away or sold, has anyone else built theirs up yet? I don't think I've seen.
No, all I've done is the one that. Why do I have too many of these? Okay, that's fine. The one that I gave out was having my photo disappeared. There we go. Was I gave to a friend of mine, Phil Duple. Phil builds stuff, and he's working on his this Calamity of mine build off, and he's using the parts from. I sent him almost a whole kit, not a complete one, but almost a whole kit to him, and he's been using it on that. He's been very pleased with it, but I haven't actually given or sent anyone a full kit yet because I've just been that reticent to. But now that Phil's taken it and like done good stuff with it, then I feel confident that it is something that I could produce and get out there at a at a reasonable price. I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off of it. I just want to make it worth make it worth everybody's while. Yeah. This is like these components all come apart. Like the front leg component is a full armor piece. This back component with the venting in it is a separate piece that plugs directly into the frame. That's the original 144 scale. And then that's my 100 scale master grade styles. You can see I made a big gap in there between those hoses. Yeah. That's what the original master grade back plate of the leg looks like on it with the modified front. Here you can see it's really rough. This is all done with epoxy sculpt and styrene sheeting, just like layers and layers, and just like doing a ton of work to get up to that point.
Yeah, and just as a reminder to people too, you were working on this in 2018 primarily, so it was before the Master Grade Barbatos came out. So you couldn't.
Oh yeah, long before the Master Grade Barbatos came out. Yeah. No, I did this. I started this in late April of 2018, and I finished by November.
So that's actually pretty quick for how much work went into it.
Yeah, and let's see. Just all the cause backpack was pretty much scratch built. The chest plates were pretty much all scratch built out. Yeah. Let's see what we've got. This is pretty decent. It lets me share it.
That was entered in New York Comic Con? Leg of GBWC, and how did you that year?
Oh, I have no idea because they didn't release the results that year because of all the drama that happened after the fact. So I have absolutely no idea how well I scored or what happened, which is disappointing. But so you can see here everything that is gray is something that I've modified, extended, or scratch built, and then primed in gray. So like here you still have on the left hand side or the right hand side of the model, the left hand side of the picture, you see the original stuff with the with the expanded frame. And then on the other side, you see like the modification. So I took this weird round rebake backpack component and I turned it into the angular backpack for the other side. If I zoom ahead a couple of images, wish I could take it to thumbnails.
What about the giant?
There you go. There's my drawings.
Oh my.
That's how things kind of work out in my brain to make like some of these components. So that's like making the outer thing. So to get things right, I draw over several different colors of colored pencil and just try and get my lines right to get everything all on legit.
Did you end up making the scissors shield as well?
I didn't end up making the scissor shield. I ran out of time ultimately. I actually have it still disassembled and sitting in like a bag ready to like be designed out, drawn out, and then rebuilt. Another modeler on Twitter that I kind of befriended, we were both building full city master grades at the same time. It's a Japanese modeler. I don't know his name because I can't speak or read Japanese, but we interacted for a little while. He did a full city as well and did the scissor shield. Did a phenomenal job on it. It was great, great work. Yeah. It was kind of funny because like I would work on something and post something, and then he would work on something, post something. It was just kind of like this cool back and forth to see, and then to see the different way, because like my kid's obviously taller and like more almost like American in a weird way, and his kit was a little bit more like detailed and like more.
It'd be interesting to see the differences between the two, how a different style came out between the two of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like the same, the way two people will look at the same thing, like the same. I don't even want to say not look at the same picture or read the same book, but like
sure,
different take on the same thing.
And then How
And
long
then,
after that was it until you started working on the Flea?
oh geez, so we did um, we did GBWC that year. I stayed up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning every night for 3 months molding all of those parts. So I had to figure out how to do that and then like pressure cast everything to get it all right to get up to the GBWC thing. So, but after GBWC went down, I had like a little mini modeler freak out, and I like snap built like 4 or 5 like the Hazel Custom, the Hama, the like, I can't remember, like 3 or 4 like big kits. I just hammered them out because I spent so much time thinking about all of the different intricacies and how to get everything to work together on this thing and all this other crazy stuff. After that was the Kotobukiya, which was awesome to build the Kotobukiya custom, which was tight. And then after the Kotobukiya custom is when I started working on the Flea.
Mm.
And then that
good transition steps of like working on something Bandai, then Kotobukiya, and then you did end up using some Kotobukiya parts, and it's sort of like
very few, but yeah, I used the canopy from the Blockbuster that I got from you on the Flea. That was the only real Kotobukiya component, aside from I guess I used the ammo belts. But yeah, that was really just about as far as that went. Everything else was pretty much all Bandai or me. Like I made it and then resin cast it myself because that's how I do the things. But that was a huge endeavor. And it was meant to be something totally different, dude. It was going to be a 2-headed dragon mecha initially. Like, yeah, that's what it was initially going to be. Like I had the 2 bodies of which ended up being the ammo pods on the back. Those were going to be 2 dragon heads up on the front of this like thing, and then like down in the 4 legs, and it was originally going to be 6 legs. But I realized that was a whole bunch of mess to try and get to work together in such a small space, you know? So it ended up only being 4 legs, using like the 2 like Frogman Goosian chassis because they're like the big purple pelvises, right? They're really bulky and like a lot of plastic. I just stuck those 2 together and then started sticking IBO parts and then like my own parts that integrate with IBO parts onto that to get like the legs. And then like the body was made out of these plastic scoopers for like protein shakes. So like it's made out of like 6 of those like glued together and like cut apart and stacked in weird ways to like get the frames. Here, I'll pull it over.
Carefully, please.
It weighs about 7.5 pounds. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see this is the Kotobukiya thing on it up here. It even has like Bandai parts up on the back. These are Turn X components for like the effect parts, right? So I used the Turn X part. This is some unicorn, high grade unicorn Gatlings in the front here. We have some Kamaris booster type shoulders. This is a mega size Zaku. What is this for? Is this for the thigh, I think, or like one of the lower leg components? These are some Star Wars parts in here. These are from the Goosian. These little things here on the side. These are from the Goosian. They're like from the back skirt or something like that from the Frogman Goosian. These are the Goosian bodies with a bunch of like extra modification and filling done to them. These are my IBO thighs. These thighs here are the shoulder backpacks for the full city, and then the lower leg is the inner portion of the full city's outer wing with a Bandai Macross add-on part, super parts and parts, right? Those are on the outside here. So those are on the front here. Over here. There we go. And yeah, so like this is just inside here, inside this. This is just another Star Wars component in here. A bunch of like hoses that I made out of epoxy putty. This stuff is all like, this is like part of a stray blue frame sword. And then a bunch of other like styrene. You probably recognize it, right? It's like there's a bunch of styrene in there too. And then I use this Thebra thermoplastic product to make the fabrics on there. There's a bunch of other Star Wars parts. There's some Kshatriya parts inside here, inside the ammo pods on the inside. The 2 arms that hold up the pods in the back. These are Kamaris booster type legs, like 2 legs just turned around, flipped upside down. And then for those, I actually had to make actuated pistons. So for that, I did used a little bit of my metalworking background, and I took if you take a size of not just threaded rubber, but a size of styrene tube, and you stack it up to make an inner collar and then an outer tube. So there's like a tube inside a tube, right? And it has like a little void inside here. And then you cap the top with a hole in the top. You can put a screw in there, right? You put a screw in there, and that screw is allowed to spin freely because it's just captive inside this assembly, which is a tube inside a tube. It makes like a little pocket with then you put a round cap on top of the hole in it, right? Clean that all up. And then you put a screw in there and then thread that screw into another piece of styrene that goes up inside of it. And then you add piston points to the outside of that, and you can turn the end of it with an Allen wrench and make the piston go in and out. Right? Yeah. It's like very slow. It's like really, really complicated, but it works incredibly well for something that's heavy, because this is super duper heavy. And that's what my problem was. It's like, I was like, oh, I can do this and this and this. And I didn't want to freeze it. I wanted to be able to move it around a little bit. So going through that whole long process to make this like little mechanical device. And then I made like 4 or 5 of them and slapped them on so that I get, different points of like movement around. So I can kind of like do that. Yeah. It's just like taking it to another level for strength. Tim told me I was overbuilding it.
Now that you mention that, I do remember you posting pictures of building those pistons at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure people were probably like, what the fuck are you doing? But or like, what the heck are you doing? Like, doesn't even make any sense, man. No,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, just because like it's such a interesting design in general, like it's cool to hear about like what all the different parts and everything came from, but just like the overall design of it. What was kind of your inspiration for?
So originally the 2-headed dragon mech came because I was like watching Willow, and there's like this weird 2-headed dragon in Willow, that's like a bunch of weird legs, and it's like really bizarre and funky looking with these like short heads with these like weird lower mouths, and it's like really bizarre. If you guys have ever seen Willow, it's kind of weird and dark and awesome. So that was where I was like, oh dude, I should totally make a 2-headed dragon mech. That would be super cool. Nobody's ever done anything like that. It's the idea is like try to make something that's really cool and awesome that makes me excited, might make somebody else excited to make something. So like I did the thing where I built it up and I got the parts. I actually originally I had 2 sets of those Kamara's legs. So the arms were like super duper long with these heads at the top, and it was swapping all over the place. And I was like just sitting with it on the bench and just sitting here like, how you get, and you're just looking at it and just looking at it and looking at it. And I just turned it around, literally just turned it around, and was like, it was giving me like these weird scorpion vibes. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm like, I don't want to make a scorpion mech. Like that's kind of like, kind of been done a little bit. I feel like it's already been there. So I was like, what can I do about this? This is kind of cool. It's like giving me spider feels. It's giving me this and that. Like, what can I, like, what kind of like bug is this? Like, what weird thing? And then I was like, these are too long. I got to shrink this down. And then it just started to take off from there. I had already had like kind of the body roughed out, because the body, I guess, I can take these off. So I disconnect the ammo belts. There. Oh, crap. Okay, I can't. I forgot there's a whole bunch of wires in the back of it. But the body actually just rests. Gravity holds it into the chassis. And so that I already had that part like kind of figured out. It was like those scoops that I was talking about, like all glued together and taped together. And there's so much glue in this thing. And so I kind of had that already kind of figured out. And I just kind of built, from that, just playing around with different ideas and like how I wanted to do it. I had like this idea of it being like that mono eye of that Star Wars component in there. And I wanted to put an LED in there, but I ran out of time again. In the end, I always run out of time. I think that, so like I was able to finish this and then enter this thing into OMC. And then that was like narrowly hitting a deadline. And so after that, I was like, all right, well, now that I hit this for OMC, I want to like take it to 10s, I really want to do something. So I built the standard for the back, like the flags and everything with the Xeon logos on it. And I like really went in, and then I added decals, because I didn't put any decals on it before I submitted it to the OMC. I really didn't finish. I didn't oil render it. I didn't even do any real detailing with extra snow and stuff that I did on the base for the diorama or anything like that. It was really super duper bare bones, just painted, the freaking painting on that kit, the like the dot matrix camouflage with the 7,500 plus dots that I punched out to make that complex camouflage on there. That alone just ate so much time and almost drove my wife insane. So many, just because I did that all here on the workbench. So I'm punching all these things by hand. It saved me countless dollars. I think I would have spent like thousands of dollars on masking alone instead of the like $20 I ended up spending on rolls of masking tape. Yeah, dude, it was insane. Because there's a bunch of these like hand grenades right there. I think he mentioned you should try the try the circle masks that they sell. Like I don't remember who sells them, but Wave or something like that sells them.
HIQ, I think, or Wave.
There you go. Yeah, or something. Yeah. But I like priced them out, and I was like, shoot, even McMaster, like, there's no way, like, they would be worth it. Like
you had to buy a load of them.
Yeah, literally like 75. I marked it all out. I have it recorded somewhere because it's like if you're going that crazy, you might as well just count them all out and figure out where you are. Yeah. But yeah, so that alone, and then doing that and everything, and then I did the oil rendering the morning before I dropped it off at GBWC. So last minute, just working on it forever. Never
still a little wet.
No, because I do the Rinaldi style. So I take all the linseed oil out of the oil paint before it goes in, so it's totally dry before it goes to. Yeah, it only takes like 20 minutes to dry. So yeah. Wow,
that you were talking about books before, and I know we've talked about that before, but yeah, that's also another great book to recommend if you guys.
Dude, yeah, I got them right here. I have two of them. Obviously, this is the one that Zach. You guys who recognize this one for sure, the one that Zach had initially pulled up. And it's funny because I think you and I got this book at the same time because of unrelated things. I think we both just like, oh, this is really cool or whatever and available. And then I also picked up, I got this one for the first one, SML1 with the fish, which is also really, really good. It talks about, different kind of weathering and stuff. It's just more really, really cool ways to make new things look old. This is great. Because he does the HG and he does the master grade and he talks about it all, man. Yeah,
definitely. And as I was just recently talking to Mike as well, and talking to him about doing an interview in the near future as well. So
awesome!
In a future episode,
jealous. Love Mike. Mike's work is amazing. Yeah.
So we'll be talking with him soon enough about all.
I'll be in the chat.
Yeah. Great work and great book. Yeah. So, but that's cool. So, I mean, what kind of stuff or what kind of builders do you look to like for inspiration, anything? Because I mean, really, it seems like a lot of the stuff is just coming out of your head, but I'm sure you do get a lot of inspiration on ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I look at everybody's stuff. I watch everybody. I might not always comment on everybody's stuff, but I watch everybody's things. You got me into doing the Japanese Twitter, which is actually really awesome. It's a great resource for fresh stuff. You see a lot of crazy cool things out there. People I don't even know people that I love. Just the work is really great. Yeah. I dig around in Pinterest a lot. Just randomly searching things and then searching portions of images for other portions of images to try and find different things. I love a lot of the groundwork and the different stylized mecha that you'll find out there on that. I can't say offhand, but Take 4GP is obviously really good. I mean, I'm gonna fall short. It's late and I can't remember offhand. But so I really like I mean, and then just follow your friends, I guess.
So basically just seeing cool stuff that other people are doing will just give you different ideas and things.
Absolutely. And I look at everything. I look at old construction equipment, and I look at when we could, I mean, who knows what's going to happen next year, but my wife and I go on cruises every year, and we go down to the Caribbean, and I'm always looking at all of the distressed ports. So all of the rusty beat up metal, or the things that have been painted 700 times, or that sand blasted and wind beaten piece of construction equipment that was at one point was a shining gem, but they still use it all the time, and it's got all this weird corrosion and like sun burning, which is where you get different layers of paint super washed out, and that's where I draw a lot of mine. And then here, just living in the city, so living in New York, when obviously we're all shut down now, but when going around, I'm hanging out the window of the van taking photos of like the underside of the overpass because of the crazy like gnarly water wash that it's got on it, and like the rust peel out on the paint and like all the cool just to try and like take and like, all right, so take that, and even if it's like a photo or something, like do your best to take your own mental image, because your brain is the best camera you'll ever have. Everything that you see you never forget, believe it or not. So if you try, you can remember it. So like I learned, that was something I learned back when I was in like art school. About drawing, like drawing people or drawing figure poses or whatever. You don't need to look directly at a model to remember what a person looks like when they're doing something. You're seeing people do things all the time around you, whether you realize it or not. Your brain is recording all these things that's going on all around you at all times. So like if you try and focus on some of that stuff a little bit and give yourself a chance to digest, maybe with a pencil and a paper at the end of the day, get some sketches going, try and work that out. I honestly recommend that people try and draw a little bit more. Even if you don't think you can draw, just try it. Just start it out. Everybody can. You just,
especially when it comes to planning out your ideas. So when you're like you were showing your work in progress on the Gushin as well, and
you're like, here's the new one, the new Crazy Psycho one. I'm just trying to figure out tanks. People are like, oh, they look like lightsabers. Yeah, they kind of look like lightsabers, but they're these little tanks. They're only about this big. But draw it big, look at it, do a bunch of them, put them all out in front of you, and like just sit back and think about it. Like draw a new one. Maybe you get it right away, probably not, but like that's what I do as much as you can. And this, what does it take to draw something like a little something like this? I mean, it's pretty refined because I've been drawing for 35 years or whatever the fuck it is, but like I mean, I'm sure I started drawing when I was 5, but like so like it's just try because you'll have a better result for your final project, regardless of if you're building a bed frame or you're building a candlestick or you're building a coffee cup or whatever. Like the more you think about it ahead of time and figure out, get your head wrapped around what that thing is going to be like in the end, the better chance you're going to have a happy result with what you do, in my opinion. So
and I think particularly to probably a lot of people who are going to be watching this are going to be mostly people who are interested in gunpla, of course. And so I think related to gunpla building, I see a lot of people who are getting into modifications. They want to get into kit bashing, whatever, and they're wondering like, what are some good steps to take, like to get into doing that? And I think that's probably really good advice, just to try getting into drawing more, sketching out your ideas.
Absolutely. And especially if you have like the models that you built, like if you have a couple of awesome little high grades that you're like, man, these high grades are cool and I want to try and put them together, like the best way to do that is to put them here in front of you and then just roughly sketch them out. I mean, you can sketch over, you can draw again. If the first drawing is bad, draw it again, and then again and again or whatever. You'll get better. It'll get to what you want it to be like. I mean, it might not look that way the first time. None of mine do. I always go back and I'm always erasing things and like redoing stuff. Like you have to, like I said, if it's only broken if you can't fix it. Like you didn't break something, you didn't ruin something if you can't possibly repair it or make it better. So like, don't say that you ruined a build, guys. Like, because you haven't ruined anything until you can't make it better. Because you can always start over. You can always strip a paint coat. Yeah, it sucks. We all have to do it, but you do it, and then you know what? Maybe you'll learn something when you do it the second time around, or like the next time you're building or you're painting some full-on thing that's amazing. Then you'll like, oh yeah, that time when I had to do the thing over. Let's not do that again. So
or like that's breaking a joint part or breaking a V fin or something like that. Then when you have to fix it, then you know at least how to do that.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Right. And the more times you do, I mean, this is going to sound stupid, but the more times, maybe not, but the more times you do it, I mean, obviously the better you're going to be at it. The faster it's going to be, the quicker you'll get to your proper resolution.
For sure. So now, what are you working on?
Well, I'm working on. Well.
What are you mainly working on?
I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects going right now. We talked a little bit about this guy.
Yeah.
Right. I added about an inch in height to this model. which might not look like it. I'm giant. I have giant hands. So I felt like the Zaku Warrior was a little short. So I'm working on this, which is kind of fun. That one's going on in the background. I'll be making a horse, a full scratch-built mecha horse of sorts. Not a full horse, but like a stylized dead horse. So it'll be cool. Watch. I just finished. What's that?
So it sounds interesting.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's going to be cool. I have some really great ideas, guys. I just finished up this little Violent custom monster for, yeah, it's pretty wacky, for the Mobile Suit Breakdown Violent build-off. So this is just a regular old high grade that I kind of went to town on, extended a bunch of the joint parts, and I made a bunch of cool, like, tendrily,
Here, let me
what do you want to call them? Hoses? Thanks. Hoses and tendrils and stuff like that. I made those out of epoxy putty with the Green Soapworks roll maker. And then did it with several different sizes of coils, did those all out, and then went through and painted that all up airbrush style. Super detail. No oil washes or anything. That's all straight airbrush paint. That's all like technical work. I didn't.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably one of the cleanest things I think that I've seen you build.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing more clean stuff. I'm working on this SD. So here's like the pauldrons for the SD Neo Xeon. As you can see, I extended those ever so slightly. Yeah, quite a bit. So I'm working on that guy. He's got a shiny undercarriage with a ton of extra thrusters that I built from scratch.
There you go.
Yeah. And then on top, I added this extra emblem and then some more thrusters too. So to give it a little bit more depth. So that's a Neo Xeon. That's for the Team SD build off that that you guys have seen around a little bit. And then I have this other thing that I've got.
Just noticed that we had the kind of screen there was kind of wrong. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, with the wide aspect ratio?
Yeah, I did. I forgot that I could change that, or that it automatically went to like that. But
so now I have this thing,
yeah,
which you guys might have wanted to see a little bit in the last stream. I don't know who's here still hanging out, but this is my my current mega build. This is the XS times Deep Striker. Right now, I'm calling it the. What am I calling it? The Psycho Sentinel Hunter. Its nickname is Backpack King. Yeah. So as you can see, I'm doing some work with details on the pipes. It's super heavy and I don't want to drop it. So I'm being very careful. And a bunch of additional parts to it. I'm basically trying to use every part that I can from the XS and from the Deep Striker together on this kit. Right now, I've only got just a handful that I'm not using. I'm doing a bunch of other custom stuff too, which is what those lightsaber handles are for. And I'm going to be doing some cool stuff like making the gun pivot and move around, because right now the gun is static, which is super sad. We're shortening the barrel on it a little bit because it's too long for no reason for it to be that long. Yeah, and then I'm doing a bunch of other stuff too, like dual beam smart cannon, some shields, and some other cool fun stuff with this. Bunch of detail, great words, a ton of detail that I still need to add to it. But right now I'm just kind of like fleshing out the the ins and the outs. But yeah, so that guy's looking pretty decent, right?
Yeah, very cool. About it. We were talking a little bit about that a few days ago. Just in the chat, I was saying that it's an idea that I've always wanted to take a stab at doing, combining the XS and the Deep Striker. So I'm very jealous. Someday I'll get around to trying to make one of my own too. But important to note too that you said you're using the old XS kit, not the new XS kit. And
yep, that's the OG.
Because the legs are pretty much the same, there's not really going to be much difference. But one thing that I was thinking about later, after we were talking about that, is that that means that your backpack parts from the old XS kit don't match, because the backpack has a lot of new parts in the new version of the kit, in the 1.5. So I'm sure you've noticed, obviously, but the backpack thrusters aren't going to be the same.
Oh yeah, no, they're dramatically different. Actually, if you get into the gritty, like the whole design is totally different. They're the ones for the XS. Those are the tertiary, the outside thrusters on it. So I've got Deep Striker. It's the Deep Striker upper torso and a backpack major, and then the lower skirts have been mounted into the thrusters from the regular backpack. Let me go over here on one screen. And then on the outside of that, I took the the excess backpack parts. And then those have those weird little sub arms in there with like the foldy in out parts. I flipped some parts around inside of there, reversed some screws and stuff, and then like flipped everything around upside down, and then made custom inserts that fit into the there's like a weird little like cross shaped receiver. There's like 2 of them where you can add excess stuff. Like you could put like the beam cannons in there, or you can do other stuff like that, right? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. So I made custom parts that I just filed out of other parts, and then like threaded. Like drilled and tapped and threaded in, and then like made those parts fit. So then I actually have to do a bunch more stuff. That's one of the points on the list. Gotta make those lists. Where's the list?
There you go.
Here you go. Outer boosters.
So aside from trying out your ideas, it's a good idea to make lists of what you're gonna do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here you go. Yeah. Psycho Sentinel Hunter, Backpack King. Each one of these subsets here are just like me looking at the kit today at the end of the day as I was getting set up for my night of streaming and everything, being like, okay, so like let's start bullet pointing this. Like I got to do something about that. I got to do something about the beam cannons. I got to do something about the thruster bells. I got to do something about the main tank in the back. I got to do something about the secondary tanks. I got to do something about the third tanks, the tanks. And this and that. And I'm just writing these bullet points down. And then what I'll do tomorrow morning when I'm drinking my morning coffee and catching up on the news and stuff like that is I'll go through each one of these bullet points, and I'll start another page of paper, and I'll start putting down all of the different things that I can think of that are going to go into that. It's like an Adam Savage kind of process or method of doing it. And it works really, really well because you don't miss a thing.
Well, especially on a larger project like that too, you'd have to. It's not like just if you're just had like an HG that you're just painting up and not doing anything else with it. You don't really need that. But for something like that, it definitely.
The Flea has I have 17 lists for the Flea that is I do this little thing, and then all right, well, I need to make a new one because that one was wrong, and just keep going. Yeah, and then a new thing, and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't even think about now this is a whole new aspect to it. I'm making this part to it, so I need to think of what do I have to do to that to make that the same quality as the rest of everything, because it all has to that's the worst in my opinion when you are looking at something that somebody has done and you see that they put so much freaking time into it, and then they maybe ran into a little snag or a weird aspect or something, and they just kind of to try and get through it, but you can see it because you're there or you've been there. And you're just kind of it looks great, but it hurts my heart just a little bit. And it doesn't hurt the model itself. The model still is wonderful. It doesn't make it any worse or anything like that. But for me, I'm just oh man, that modeler in a little bit when they sees that model or she sees that model or whatever they're looking at, and they're like, yeah, but that seam, you might not see it, but then they think it in their head. That stuff weighs on me. I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm crazy, but
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I know it's the things that you know about it that it's not like you're worried that someone's going to see that or find out that point, that you just, it's there.
Yeah, no. I do that stuff because I care about it, not because I think somebody else is going to point it out to me or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man.
Pretty soon before we wrap up, I would want to ask you about one more point here, but then after that I want to give anyone who's watching live some time to ask any questions. So if any of you guys want to ask any questions for Brian, think about that and hang on for just a minute. There's one more thing I want to ask him about, and then we'll take a couple of questions from those of you guys who are watching live. So just give you a heads up on that. But Brian, I wanted to ask you too, because I know you're always working on different stuff, and this is something that some people will sometimes ask me, and I don't really know how to answer because it's not really a problem for me. It doesn't seem to be a problem for you either, but do you ever experience burnout or just not? Or do you feel it sometimes, and what do you do about it? Or what's your experience with that?
I do. Man, we all feel burnout. Why haven't I finished painting the SD? That is a prime example of being burnt out on a project. I have a lot of projects going. I'm really have a very forgiving wife. My partner, she is very forgiving and allows me to take up space. But yeah, so I often will have more than one project going on. I play some video games too. You got to take a break. Even if you're really stoked on a project, you might be just hammering something and really kicking ass and just doing all the right things. Take a break. Play Stardew Valley or something, something totally different. Read a book. Definitely read. To try and give your brain a break from the things that you're focusing on. Because man, I will focus I'll dream about my projects almost I would say maybe unhealthily. Like they get in my head and they're like a little worm in there. So if I don't make myself take a break from it, then like I'll burn myself out just because I'm passionate. I'm like a pit bull with a dog bone, you know. I'm just going nuts at it because I love it. Yeah.
So basically, it helps to have different things going on at the same time. So like if you're
absolutely be diverse, play an instrument. You know,
it doesn't necessarily happen to you that you just get burnt out on modeling in general, that you just want to just like stop doing it in general, but you might get burnt out on maybe like one particular project and you want to take a break from that for a little while, but and you also like to mix in stuff here and there as well.
Yeah, I say try to be diverse. You need, I mean, and again, my wife, Colleen definitely lets me know if I need to take a break, which is nice to have someone that is kind of like watching me and being like, yo, why don't we go sit on the stoop and read, have a conversation or something, you know, like let's get outside. Let's, you know, move around, you know, do something, you know, like, which is super helpful because, you know, like I said, I will just work if given the opportunity.
I feel it. Yeah, I'm the same way. And like I said, I think there's a lot of things for me that to kind of go into it. And so it's kind of a hard question to answer when people ask me. And it sounds like it's kind of the same thing for you. It's a little bit complicated thing.
Dude, it's incredibly complicated. Yeah, totally. And sometimes, you know, sometimes your burnout is fear-based, which sucks too, you know? Yeah. Like, you know, I've been reticent because I picked a color pattern for this SD and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then Colleen was like, yo, you paint everything that. And I was like, okay, let's think about this. So I thought of a new color scheme. I was like, this is going to be the one. And I started putting it down and I was like, this is terrible. I need to do something different. What's going on over here? You know, like,
yeah, or if it's a project where you're trying something new, like say if you've never done LED before and like you're like, I'm gonna do some LED work on this kit, and you get into it and you're realizing it's like harder than you thought, it might be like really stressing you out, you know?
Dude, right. I know. Yeah, super stressful. That
can happen. But luckily there's a lot of people around online you can go to for help.
Totally. Yeah, take a breath and just slow down.
Definitely.
Slowing down is also good for stuff like that, especially for something new. Like don't rush, man. It's not a sprint. I mean, if there's a deadline, that's one thing, but like it's not a sprint, man. This is a marathon. We're all trying to enjoy the run. Like I used to be a runner in high school and stuff. Like I love the run. So it's good about the journey is where I used to meet a random person every race and have a conversation the whole run. And it's like, 20 minutes to hang out and talk to somebody while we're running for several miles. Like, why not? You know, let's
communicate. Sure. And it's like even I've made this point, I think, to people before too, when talking about this, is that even if you are building for a deadline for like GBWC, for example, or for some other contest, even if you don't make it, I mean, like you can always enter it the next year. In the case of GBWC, for other contests, you know, it might be a little bit different. It's a very specific contest, like the Zaku contest or whatever. It's not like I was going to do another
photo contest. Yeah, exactly. Right. You're absolutely right.
But, you know, maybe you can't finish for the deadline, so you can enter in a different contest later, or even if not, you know, you're just doing your hobby anyway. So it's not
absolutely, like, I mean, finish it for yourself. You know, I mean, if anything, and then the next contest, you're going to be even that much better. Even that much better. You know.
Yeah, it's working towards deadlines, and especially made up deadlines, like for yourself, like thinking like, oh, I want to finish this by the end of the month, is really kind of not a good way to work, I think.
Well, I mean, it can be, but you shouldn't let it, you know, crush you, right? Set a goal, but like you shouldn't let that, like, you shouldn't let it like bear you down, like weigh you down.
Yeah, for sure.
Be okay with failing. Right? It's okay. Dark Souls taught me that. It's okay to die. You can start over. It's all right. You'll be just as good, I swear.
You know, I've never played the game, but the little statue thing that you built that you showed off was cool. I like that.
Yeah, Solaire and the Onion Knight.
Yeah.
Here's the raw sculpts of this is one of the arms with the beer mug. This is Solaire with the beer mug and clay. It's a little bit rough because it's been hanging around for a while. And then this is the Onion Bros with the other with the other beer mugs. So they're doing like a group cheers and they got their arms around each other.
Yeah.
Pretty
That's
rad.
cool. All right. So then let's see if any of you guys watching want to ask any questions for Brian or for me, but don't ask me any questions. Just ask something for Brian. But if it's something like really urgent, you need to ask me. Just send me a message or something later. But
right now, it looks like Pabs and Z and Kyle are just picking on each other in chat right now.
Yeah, they've been kind of chatting amongst themselves in the chat. Seems like
yeah, those guys are with me on Tuesdays. So
they're all having fun in the chat. That's good.
Yeah, you can witness our silliness live if you wish. We've been having some good conversations actually lately. It's been good. The DMC has been on top. So what do we got here?
When will you write a book, even if it's just a picture book? We kind of talked about. We didn't talk about making books, but
no, Rusty. What's up, man? Haven't seen you in a minute, dude. Hope you're well. Gosh, that's a great question. I've been thinking about writing books for years. I'm not much of a writer. My wife is the writer, so there's possibility that we'll do a collaboration. She's written many books already, actually. She just doesn't publish them. But yeah, that's actually a good question. I assume eventually. It's a terrible answer, Rusty. I'm sorry. But yeah, it'd be cool. I've done some stuff. It's the same thing. Like I have to make sure that something is perfect.
Like I was mentioning before, you could start off just putting together something like what Josh did, just making like a PDF, like a long form PDF kind of thing first, like a experiment.
Oh, true. Yeah, with like the Goosey End, or like I know I need to go through and do more videos of some of the more intricate builds that I've done and do some like Ken Burns style, like where we did like really haphazard showing of photos that were just not well put together. Sorry, guys, to try and illustrate some of the things that go on. Yeah, you're I should take a little bit of time, and maybe I should talk to my friend Zach that knows a lot about video stuff. Give me some tips. Maybe.
I don't know how much I can.
I'll see. I'll have to see if he's available. Hang on.
Yeah,
I'll get back to you guys.
Pretty busy. All right, Chris did ask a question here as well. He said, "Have you ever felt like you've hit a creative ceiling? How did you break out of it, or how did you break out of the same old groove?"
It's a good question. Have I ever felt like I hit that creative ceiling? I don't. I think that the fact that I work on so many different things has allowed me to not feel. I'm sure that I have hit a creative ceiling a time or two at different points, but it's like I'm on all of these different pillars that are raising at the same time. So like if I hit like a little bit of an impasse on something, I might focus on another aspect of something. So like when when I was doing like prop making and stuff like that, when I kind of hit a lull for rotocasting and doing that stuff, I made a 87-inch full-size Dark Souls sword, and then taught myself repose and like did a whole other thing where I like worked on my mind and growing my skills and on that end of things, and then went back to the other stuff and started working on that again because I was rejuvenated. So like it's I same kind of thing with getting burned out. It's like I try to pour more things in to me to help me stay creative. So read more books and like even just visual books, like you were saying, they were saying picture books and stuff, like trying to digest that kind of thing, and like you're just get into weird conversations, or like I don't know, that's kind of like sounds kind of weird to say, but just like try and push boundaries, I guess, to try and help you get past that. I am like weirdly creative. I'm disturbing a little bit with some of the things that I think of. So like I always have another thing that is like bubbling in the background, and like it's for me anyways. I don't know how or what it is. I guess I just kind of can. I am lucky, I guess, that I don't really hit that too much. But if I do, I'm gonna get at you.
Yes, you know where to find him anyway, Chris.
Yeah.
Alvin,
Chris, if you have problems, talk to me, hit me up on Insta, hit me up on the whatever, man. I love to talk. So clearly,
Yes, and I'm sure that goes to everyone as well. Like, you're around on social
Absolutely.
media. People can get in touch with you if they want to talk to you.
Yeah. I don't gatekeep, man.
Yeah.
All this information is free. You just have to ask.
Yeah. Alvin asked, "What's the most complicated mechanism you've devised so far?"
For what? No, because I made a lot of things. But so let's think about just talk about model making. One of the more complicated mechanisms that I made was I made a rotocaster from scratch. That was fun. I took some motorcycle chain and some random gears, and I actually made a couple of gears with a plasma cutter. I cut apart a couple of tools and hacked together like a right angle gear and chain drive and crank arm, and made a rotocaster from garbage. Essentially, that was pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, those pistons were pretty well designed too. I mean, honestly, that's pretty smart for little micro adjustable.
Yeah, a small thing, but it took a lot to kind of put together.
Yeah, right? It takes a little bit of wrapping your brain around to get that on the right end, getting the right screws and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, those are pretty fun.
Okay.
I try to make things easy to use.
Yeah, sure.
Complicated isn't always better.
Yeah. You're an artist, not an engineer, right?
Well, I'm a little bit of all those things, but I hold a lot of titles, but I don't own any of them.
All right, here's a kind of fun one, very Gunpla related, and we haven't really talked a whole lot about like Gunpla, really.
No, yeah,
about that. What regarding today there was an announcement about that there's going to be an announcement later of a new version
or something, right? On the 27th or something, right? Is that what I heard?
I think the 29th. The Gunpla announcement day is next Friday, I think. So I think that'd be the 29th, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, next week there's apparently going to be a new announcement. What would you love it to be? The new Master Grade Verka.
Oh, dude, I would love to see fucking G-Self Verka. Would be really nice. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know about the G-Self until I used to help out with this hobby shop down in Sunset Park that's no longer around. And then one Sunday I was in there and I had to like film and run a show while I was just basically kind of hanging out and doing tech. I didn't need to be active. So I bought a G-Self Perfect Pack because it was like the prettiest looking thing on the shelf at the time. I was just kind of like, I'll just pick this one out and I'll start snapping it up and put it together. It was an amazing kit. Like I feel like they gave that suit the Verka touch. I think it would look really, really nice. I don't know if it would sell as well, but I mean, that's what I think would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see a lot of stuff in Verka, though. I'd love to see a Buster Gundam Verka.
That'd be cool.
That'd be kind of cool, right?
Just trying to think. I guess there has been non-UC things. But I think the only non-UC Verka so far has been the Wing Gundam, I think. It's the only one. Right? I think so. So it's not unheard of, but certainly unusual.
I always love to see more Xeon stuff. I guess because the Stein is technically UC, but it's not really, because it's not really anything. I mean, the Stein it's only in NT or it's tertiary, so it's not really like direct UC. But that's amazing for Ka.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. That's nice. Yeah, I think we had the Psycho Zaku Verka, but it would be cool to see some more mono eye kind of stuff.
Sure, we'll see a Dom. Well. Or there's some amazing Dom variants out there that would be really fucking cool. If done well.
Yeah. All right. Let me give you this other question because it's sort of related to that, I guess, barely. But Hazaki Hendren asked, can you go back to building something out of the box with no modifications? I think his point is that now that you're so into modification, would you be able to hold yourself back and just build something without any modification to it?
I can.
Yeah.
I can do that.
But you wouldn't necessarily want to.
No, I mean, what often happens is I'll snap something up that I'm like, all right, you're going to be a master grade high gog. That gog over there is going to be a master grade high gog. When I built that kit a year and change ago, that's what I said that kit was going to be. So that's what it will be. But right now, it is just a snap built, beautiful, fully sanded down, like cleaned up to the T's gog on the shelf, and it's lovely. But that's the way I tend to do things like that. Like this Victim is going to, it has have a resin dress up kit for this, that it's going to be my granddaddy origin is going to be the Alex 2.0 resin kit. Like all these things that I do like that, I do tend to have an ulterior motive for them. Whether or not we reach that, we'll find out. But I do have a goal for that. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun in just clean snapping a kit, man. It's really nice. I love sanding parts. I'm one of those weirdos that just loves to sand parts.
I mean, I think aside from just snapping the kit, I think the point of his question was regarding like the painting and everything too. So like you would get like a completely finished point without like doing any sort of customization or modeling, just going through all that process as well, painting and everything. I think is what he was meaning.
I mean, I guess the closest that I've gotten is the Byron that I just finished. Right, that's pretty close to stock colors. Yeah. Right, I mean, but I customized the holy heck out of it so it doesn't fit. I mean, the colors fit, but the customization is true. It's out of the park. So,
yeah.
You know, man, that's a good question, right? Like, even the Marasai, the Shirasai that I did with your little, your Sharma thing, Zach, that we all participated in for fun. Like I couldn't let it go. I had to do a bunch of stuff to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, gosh, I don't know, man. Andrew, I don't know if I can do it, man. That's a good question.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to think about that one.
For me, I can say that like I can do that, like build, because I just did that and I've done that many times still. Like I enjoy customizing stuff, but I also enjoy just painting up something without customizing it as well too. So I can do that. But for me, the hard part is painting something in the original color scheme. Like I have to tweak the colors at least a little bit. I can't do something in the original colors, So.
Yeah, I think that the Byerland was the first time that I've ever just stuck with kind of canon, because they're all custom mixed, so it's it's not.
It's pretty close to the original colors, right? So
yeah, it's pretty close.
All right, let's take a couple more here. I know there's a bunch, but we'll try to just get a couple more of these questions here. Now I lost it in the chat. Sorry, zoomed it down to the newest one.
Night, Robert.
Here we are. Freddie asked, when are you selling that full city conversion?
Freddie is is the first person that wants one. I should just send Freddie the one that I have, because I have a complete one here. I just haven't. I should just send it over to him. Sorry.
People want to know. You gotta finish the scissor shield first. It's just not.
Well,
it's not done.
True. And the scissor shield can be like an add-on, right?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right.
That's an add-on set you got to buy separately.
Right. Not to be a jerk, but because I'm not going to have it ready.
Yeah.
I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah. That would be cool, though. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. Transforming all the way.
I don't know. I mean, just having everything done to a point where you are ready to sell a few of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have to mold the head, too. I haven't molded the head yet. I have obviously have the modifications done, but I haven't done the mold work on it. It's a mess. And it's time consuming. I'm not going to lie, guys. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Nope. I ruined 5 molds at the beginning of that molding process. 5 molds just because I did like one thing wrong. And I made all 5 at once. And I was like, I'm just going to go do this.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, good timing on that.
Yep.
All right. Let me see. Kyle then also asked, do you think that the Backpack King has enough thrusters to catch the
Thrusterton is dead. Thrusterton doesn't stand a chance, my friend.
Yeah.
The Zabi family courier, whatever it is. Thrusterton. You know the lore, right? Thrusterton? Of course.
Yes.
Dunzo. Your days are numbered, Kyle.
Right. Aaron asked, what would you recommend for a beginning modder for gunpla? So someone who's just getting into starting to do modification kind of stuff.
Modifications of Zaku's, absolutely. They're
Ah.
really great kits. It's really easy to put together, and their forms, the round forms, lead to addition. You can easily add some panels and some thrusters and some other parts to them. You can take parts away, and it still looks really, really good. Like removing the armor, the inner frame is really well made on the Zaku 2.0. I always, when people are like, what should I say? Zaku. It's like, yeah.
I think his point was asking more about like kind of what would you recommend for me? Like not necessarily the kit, but like the tools or techniques or like the theory behind it, I think.
Wow. Well, the thing about it is you can use anything you want, right? You can go to the dollar store and pick up a bunch of cheapy toys that have cool aspects to the various parts to them and cut those apart and then make those your parts. The Zaku custom that I did for you, Zach, I used this is actually still have it here because I haven't touched it since. This is some of the pieces from it. I use this really hard. This is from the Shield. I use these really hard, thick, improper plastic plating that I picked up out of the garbage. And it was terrible. But I worked with it. I burned it. I melted it. I did all this crazy stuff to it. I glued it to the kit. I refined it. I sanded it down. I did all this other crazy stuff to it. And I just worked with it until I got it to a point where it looked good. And then I did, the painting process and all that stuff to it. You can use anything, man. Like, it is easier to use high-end, styrene sheeting and like, to have the, the various other tooling that we have, and saws and scribers and files galore and all this other cool stuff. But you don't need that stuff to start customizing. You just need to be creative and resourceful. I really wanted to like go and take like a trip to a Dollar General or something like that, buy like $10 worth of stuff and then have another model kit and just be like, we're just going to do this, not necessarily like your trash to treasure kind of thing, Zach, where you take like the Tristan and you make it into something that's good. You're taking the GPO too, and you're going to be doing something like really cool with it. I'm looking forward to seeing the work that you're doing on that. But like, taking the other kind of trash, like
actual trash.
Yeah, like and turning that into trying to maybe I should do a series on that. Yeah.
Indeed. Scraps. It's something that I've always wanted to do. Just build something just out of just all the leftover parts, because I have boxes of just leftover parts and stuff, right?
Tower of that stuff, man. Yeah.
All right. A couple people, I don't know why. The same person's asking this again and again, but I keep seeing this. Someone's asking if you've built the full armor Gundam Verka.
Yes, I have. I snapped it up on my live stream. If you guys were around, it's on 65 and 64 and 65. I was snapping up the full armor Thunderbolt. Yep.
Brian asked, a different Brian, obviously. Do you know if any complication or competitions like the GBWC have a disabled division? I've never heard of that. Any competition?
Actually.
I've never heard of that ever being a thing.
Yeah, neither have I. I know that a lot of competitions have a lot of different categories. So depending on your level of building prowess, we'll say, you have the opportunity to compete with your compatriots, the people of the same
I think that would be something that probably wouldn't really be workable into just like a normal contest, because there just wouldn't really be enough entries. It would have to be something that you would have to organize as like a part of the.
Yeah, it would have to be like almost like how Tex does her like build alongs with this is for kids, but kind of a thing where it's like an event specifically geared towards the particular particular builder base, we'll call it.
Exactly. So if you were working in like if it was like a local competition or something, and there was a group of maybe some like I don't know, in a particular center or something like that, where you're meeting with a group of disabled modelers that were all going to be working on their own project to be a part of this larger contest, and there could be like their own category within that contest. It could be a thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never heard of it.
I haven't, yeah, but I haven't really heard of anything specifically geared towards that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's an interesting idea, though, something that you could organize.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think it would be hard to do that on any sort of like online or national scale. It had to be something probably local. Would be probably the best way to do that, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's probably a few more, but I think we can pretty much wrap it up there. I think that's most of the questions.
Cool.
We'll just take this last one here then, as I'm just kind of scrolling through the comments a bit. Easy one. What's your favorite UC MG that you've built so far? Chris asked.
My favorite UC MG that I've built so far? So I'm a Xeon guy, right? Man, this is gonna sound weird, but it's a kind of a toss-up. I really like, and you're gonna think I'm dumb, but I really like, you know, probably don't think I'm dumb. So, I really like the Ack guy. It's gonna sound right, or the Zigak. I think that those two kits are underappreciated for like 1.0 UC models. That guy is crazily large proportion, but it's a fun little build, and the mechanics on it are really good, like all the weird sleeving joints that it has, and the different posing, and then just like the fact that it comes with a really nice stand, and it comes with cuts and lets, and it comes with like all this other cool stuff, which makes it a really good model as well as being a
like,
fun to build kit. What's that?
Effect parts on it for it, right?
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, it has this whole.
Parts.
It has this whole thing of FX parts right here that come with it for doing the underwater effects. And then the Zagak is also really, it's just like it's like a ingenious, like those old Xeon designs. That's where they got to do their creative stuff. I don't know if you read the article that was kind of published sort of recently about I shared it on my Twitter, or retweeted it on my Twitter, the origins of the Zaku. And then like this guy goes and does like an amazing deep dive about the origin of the design of the Zaku, and then the stuff that was going down behind the scenes with all this and that. Like, where is it really from? Is it like related to the Cylons? Is it related to, you know, whatever it is? And like at the beginning of it, he's just kind of talking about how the freedom that they had when designing the Xeon suits, because they were never intended to be like model kits, which is probably why a lot of those early model kits are so weird. Like the Ack guys are crazy. It's huge. It's wild. It shouldn't be that big. And like, you know, they're like kind of weird and kind of a little bit janky, but like I feel like they had the ability to really just like let that creativity go wild. And it's not just like, you know, a night suit, you know, or whatever.
It was only, you know, not too much longer later, but it was only until later, after they'd already started, that they realized, oh well, we're gonna be making most of the money off the models, so we need to make these a little bit more model kit friendly designs, right? At first, it was just kind of like making just another goofy space anime robot.
Totally. So. Dude, and the GOG the GOG itself is a wild kit. It is a wonky big diaper man. Did you see Josh and I taking a look at the GOG Yes, stuff? I did. Of course I watch you, man.
But we you know, taking a look at so many different custom GOGs, you gain a little bit more appreciation for it, but yeah, it's a goofy design.
It is it's a really wacky design. You can do a lot with it. There's some really amazingly cool. Have you seen like the slim one that was out? It was done like 3 or 4 years ago or something like that. Guy like extended all the long arms and like made him real like slim and like kind of hunched over. Oh, dude, it looked really, really cool.
Yeah, I think so. I'm
sure you've seen it. It's all over. It's been all over the place.
It's built into like a vignette.
Ooh, I don't know. I've only seen like whips and like, you know, putty picks and stuff. So
I could be thinking of something different, but yeah, I've seen definitely there's some cool builds of it out there. But
I have it saved in my Pinterest. I'll look a photo up and I'll send it your way so you have an idea what I'm talking about right now directly. So.
Okay. Yeah, sure. All right then. All right, Brian. Once again, before we wrap up, for anyone who wasn't here maybe at the start, but just to remind everyone, where can they get in touch with you? Where can they see your work?
Yeah, so you guys can see my work on I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm on YouTube. I stream twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursday nights, 9 to 11 Eastern Standard in the States. And you can find me on Facebook under my actual who I am, Brian. I'm sure you search Bro Builder, you'll be able to find that stuff linked as well. But yeah, you can find my work on there. But most of the stuff is going to be on Instagram and on Twitter. You can reach me through my DMs if you have any questions. If you ever want to rap, or you want to spitball, or you have a concern, or you don't like something I did, whatever, just let me know. It's cool. I know how to talk.
Yeah, and to make it really easy for you guys, you can just search Bro Builder, you'll find it. But I did put in the video description, there is the links to your YouTube and Instagram are there.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach.
Twitter it's the same name. You guys can find it, or I'll add it later. But that stuff's there. You guys can find it real easy. And yeah, check out the live streams as well too. Brian's working on stuff. It's a good time. This, as I've said recently, bad time in the world, but it's a good time for streaming because everyone's just at home. You can stream, just hang out, watch different stuff. So
being creative.
Check out what Brian's working on. What are you gonna be working on next week on the live streams?
We're doing more. I'm gonna be doing some fleshing out of the horse for that the Death Zaku, and I am going to be doing more work behind the scenes on the XS Cross Deep Striker, and then I'm gonna probably paint this SD. So I think I got the paint figured out, settled my brain on the colors, and I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, just gotta do it.
Just gonna slog through it. It's gonna be beautiful.
That was it for me with the Mazinger. I just spent too much time thinking about it. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna. I don't know if these colors are really gonna work, but let's just give it a try.
It looks great. Looks beautiful.
It came out. It is what it is. So all right.
I like it. I like it. I think it looks good.
I do. I like it too. You know.
Oh, convince me some more.
It is what it is. I think it looks good for what it is. The colors, the best thing I could have possibly done with it. Of course not. I think I probably could have done different things, but anyway, don't need to get into it.
Get another one. Build another one.
No, thanks. No, thank you.
That's right. Am I going to build another Flea
version? Maybe it'd be better for like experimenting, but something that big, no.
Yeah, nothing like trying a brand new masking or painting process on a whole new monster kit. Yeah, I've never done that twice in a row.
Something that large.
Yeah. The Briegel and both the Flea, man. Holy Christ!
Right,
it was madness. I had someone in my sidecar helping me out.
Big projects are a lot of fun, but yeah, they're just big.
They're big. Yeah, you get to that point where you're like, how many more of these do I have? All
right, Brian. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on, hanging out. Guys, check out Brian's stuff, and looking forward to your work as always, Brian. So
awesome.
See you later.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys. Thanks everyone for watching too. Have a great day. All right. And